it does everything that's required for that. It gets you so close to people. It builds such strong trust and relationships, everything that's required for that. And, roundtables are a lot of effort. They cost a lot of money with all kinds of things involved. So it's going to be worth it, right?
Daniel, thanks for meeting me and thanks for our online meeting today. You are in Wrocław right now. I'm in the north of Poland, which is Gdynia, and I see you have a very sunny day, the same here. And I invited you to talk about the CEO Roundtable, because as you know, we had a discussion in the past. The event is very interesting, and we've seen plenty of companies trying to organize different kind of events to bring together the audience and also to have the right decision makers in one place. And in many cases, it doesn't work. They just target wrong people, they trigger them in a wrong way, and they organize events, spend a lot of money, and then somehow they don't see a result. And you found I call them the secret sauce or the formula for a successful event that is beneficial for attendees, but also for the organizers. And I think we will be talking about this today. So maybe the first question, how the Leaders Bridge has started and what was your drive to move it forward?
Sure, yeah. So thanks for doing this. I really appreciate it. I started Leaders Bridge a couple of years ago really with one idea, and the idea was to get Switzerland's entrepreneurs and corporates closer together, because at the end of the day, there's a big gap in most economies, most countries, but in Switzerland especially, because we have our little garden thinking very much in our DNA as Swiss, and that's also in the business sector the case. So really what I wanted to do is I wanted to get those two groups closer together to basically connect more, talk more, do more, and move more. That was the idea behind it. So we started to do two things. One was organize Executive Roundtables, and the other one was actually build an interview series. And with the Executive Roundtables, the core event that we're running twice a year is called the CEO Collaboration Day. So we get like 25 to 30 people together in a peer-to-peer exchange the whole basically day. It's not a conference, so there's no keynotes in that sense. There's not a huge group of people. It's a relatively small group. Very intimate, very face-to-face. And that's kind of like how it started, and it grew not in terms of people coming there. In the very first one, we had already 21 people showing up, and we always keep it at 25 to 30 people. So very selective with who we have there, because it's very important for people to have the right mindset. I talk a lot about having the right people there. So that's kind of like how these things got started. And what keeps me going is the impact that it has. I mean, the first event that we've done with 21 people, the event itself was great. A lot of ideas, a lot of good stuff, a lot of networking. But the most important thing that to me happened was in the months after the event, because in the month after the event, people actually started to work together. So they went into board engagements with each other. They did joint ventures. They started companies with each other. They did investments with each other. They created business deals with each other. So actual literal collaborations happened out of it. And to me, that is the essence of it, because everything else is just talk. I'm not interested in talk in that sense.
Sure.
I'm interested in the actual outcomes, in the actual results, and the impact. So that's what keeps me going.
Yeah, so that's actually my another question, because what is the problem you are solving? I'm guessing that you've been attending plenty of events in the past, and you've noticed that, okay, they don't work. I don't know, maybe it's a waste of time. Maybe some of them just don't fit my expectation. So what was your trigger? How did you find the problem that needs to be solved? What was the problem, and how your new formula came up to the world?
So, I mean, events do work in many formats. Large conferences work, but they have a different purpose. Like 3 days ago, I talked to the CIO of a luxury goods company about coming to one of our roundtables. We're going to focus very much on SAP. And he said, it's great, sign me up, because I love these formats. I love these roundtables. I no longer go to the big conferences because, I get enough information. I don't need more information. And when it comes to networking, I have enough sales contacts. I don't need more sales contacts. I know enough consultants. I don't need to get to know more consultants. What these people are usually interested in is the very practical aspects. They have a challenge on the table. It's something that they need to figure out or solve, and they want to get it not solved, but they want to figure out different approaches, more effective approaches. So they can either hire a consulting firm to help them do that, usually, or a roundtable is just a much more lean and more creative format to actually go about that. So conferences are very different, and they work, but they work for different purposes. So that's for the attendees, and for the actual hosts. Of course, the hosts are basically the solution providers, service providers, B2B companies. For the hosts, basically, the value is you have a small group together. You get 6 to 8 people. It's very targeted. The kind of people that you can pull in are super, 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 super niche. If you want to go there, you can basically create a wish list to get the people on board. If you do it right, if you know how to get people on the to the table, you can get the kind of people that you want there and the exact kinds of people that you want there. So to me, that's what I see and what I hear from people. That's the real value of it.
Okay, so let's imagine I have this idea for the event, a roundtable. So I would love to trigger, let's say 30, 35 people from my, let's call it ideal client profile. Of course, I don't want to sell them. I just want to meet them, build their relationship, just to see how I can help them, or maybe how I can solve their challenges. How should I trigger those guys? Because in some cases, companies think that, or people at different companies think that it's very hard to invite CEOs to such circle, such roundtable, because they're always busy and they don't spend too much time on such type of events. How do you do the magic which makes them come to your event?
Well, there's a couple of things, and it actually starts ways before you actually send the message. It actually starts with actually sending the message, because very often when we're in that situation, it can be intimidating to reach out to a CEO of the, 5,000 people company, if that's who you want to get in touch with. It can be intimidating, and that's where the issue or the solution starts. Because, if you just, the simplest answer to that is just ask, literally. That's the simplest answer. Because if you ask 100 people if they want to join, and it's exact people that you want, and you don't feel intimidated, or you don't care about feeling intimidated, about reaching out, and you have a strong message about why it's valuable to them, maybe 5 will come, and that's enough. I mean, I'm going to put a video out there in a couple of days. It's going to be a 9-minute, very short video, but a very condensed case study about a campaign that we've been running to get people to a specific kind of roundtable. And we had a cold email campaign as part of it. And this was literally cold email, very senior IT executives, so CIOs, heads of ITs of big industrial companies in Switzerland. And we had 50% open rates.
Insane.
And 25% response rates.
Wow.
And we sent out 130 or 180 emails. We didn't send out 10,000 emails or something like that. We sent out 180 emails, I think. And we got like 23 people saying, this is great, let's talk about this. We get 6 people booked into the first roundtable, all within 30 days.
Nice.
And, so I would say the first thing is really, you just have to ask, literally, because we're not asking enough, we're not asking for enough, and we're not asking often enough. It always reminds me of a friend of mine who won a very, very big $1 million client in Vegas, a casino. And she told me about how she won that. And the way she got to meet the CEO was she had to approach him 7 times to actually just meet him. So 7 follow-ups in that sense, phone calls, emails, LinkedIn, whatever you can imagine.
Different challenges.
When she met with him, she asked him, why on earth would you let me wait 7 times until you actually meet with me? And he said, well, I wanted to see if you're serious. So to me, and it's actually very true. I mean, I'm the kind of guy who follows up. If I want something, I follow up until you tell me shut up, or leave me alone. Because if I want something, I believe I deserve it. So I'm doing everything in my power to get it. And people actually appreciate the follow-up. There's a lot of people who send me messages after the 4th follow-up mail, when most people have long given up, to say, I really appreciate your tenacity. I really appreciate the friendly reminder. And, follow-up is another important key. You're not going to get there with one message, at the very least, 3 messages or 3 emails, and in some cases a lot more. And patience is a big one. 30 days, what we've accomplished is awesome. But that's not the standard case. That's the cool case study, right? But that's not the standard case. And then, of course, the messages are really, really important. They need to be super short, super to the point. The best experience that we had was with cold emails. I mean, warm emails almost always work awesome.
Sure.
If you send out an email to 20 people that I know, I get 15 or 16 responses, right? That's awesome. But there's a limit to that. But if we're going abroad, then further, and we're doing cold approaches, what works best there is basically 2-3 sentences in the emails, and that's it. No links, no attachments, no invitations, no formalities, nothing formal. Be casual. Ask for the call. Ask for the conversation. Ask for the conversation again. Don't ask for a commitment. Don't ask for showing up at the roundtable. Ask for something small. Ask for the commitment, and not the commitment, but ask for the call basically. And in my opinion or in my experience, that works incredibly well based on the statistics that we have. So that's kind of like.
So how do you find the message? Do you run, before sending, for example, this 100 email, do you do some little pre-interviews with a few CTOs from the network just to make sure that your message is right? Because I see that there is some risk that you as a owner of the company, you can think that I know what they want, I know how to trigger them, and you might be wrong. So you send email to 100 people and they don't reply because they say like, it's totally not relevant to me. Why did this guy trigger me? So do you somehow evaluate your message before sending it to the audience?
Well, partly yes and partly no. I mean, we've done so many of those that there's a sense for what will work and what not. And sometimes we're right and sometimes we're wrong. So, and that's also why we're only sending 100 emails. Because I give you a very specific example that we're doing right now. We're running an executive roundtable on SAP. And the focus areas are basically migration, cloud, and user experience. That's the key areas. And we've been reaching out to people, and we think this is what's required right now and what's on people's mind for 2020 that we want to reach. That's what we think, right? And then what we do is we send out, we approach 100, 150 people with that, and then we see what comes back. And we simply tweak and twist along the way. Because usually, because we've done it so many times, usually it works well, there's responses, and then we tweak things, and sometimes nothing happens, and then we need to completely revamp. Most of the time it works quite well because we've done so many. So at the end of the day, of course, that goes into a much broader conversation too. You need to really understand the clients, you need to understand their desires. That's why when we work with a client, a high-end B2B company to do roundtables with, we dive really deep into their customer pain points, their value proposition. We rip everything apart in the kickoff workshop to make sure that the roundtable's topic, the theme, the storyline, the pitch, everything is 100% customized to the exact kind of people that we want to target. Because then you can also have a good filter and only the right people will show up. So it all goes hand in hand.
So what happens next? Imagine you have signups for the event, 10 people, what happens next?
So basically people sign up. So what we do is before people can actually sign up, we talk to them. We have a qualification call or we interview them. Of course, we're not calling it that, right? We call it we say it's an intro call. But what we do is we have a 30 to 40 minute conversation with every single person before they're allowed to come, because we want to understand if the challenges that they have are actually relevant to everybody else, if the challenges that they have are in alignment with what the solution provider at the end of the day wants to solve, if the challenges are big enough, the complexity is big enough, all these things we check first. And only then we decide who gets to come and who not. And of course, people always say yes or no too, but it's a lot on our part as well to say yes or no for people to come. So we always have the pre-call, and then we book them into the roundtable. And then, another important aspect is the environment, the location. You can do it at any kind of place. You can do it in a fancy 5-star hotel, with champagne reception. You can do it in a startup industrial space with basically white walls and nothing, and everything in between. And what's really important is that the location, the environment is native to the people that you want to get there. Because if you're gonna approach, some high level executives of industrial type companies, and you host that in a 5-star, Bor Olak at the Lake Zurich, and everybody's there in ties. It will be a complete weird experience for them. They will not feel at home. It will not be native to them. If you host it in a more industrial space, in a more startup-y space, maybe more. And same if you work with maybe startup companies, or if you work with private banks. With the private banks, it's probably better to go to the suit and tie reception, although not with everyone. So you need to make the location, the environment native to the people that you're talking to. Super important, because if they don't feel at home, they don't feel comfortable, their guards are not going to be down. And if their guards are not down, their ego is up, their mask is up, you're not going to accomplish anything. That's usually what happens when a big IT corporation hosts one of their big executive roundtables with 300 people of their best clients, and they get everybody there, and everybody just wants to have the lunch buffet open and have fun and then go home as soon as possible. And of course, nothing happens. So that's really important. And another thing is important, that is the structure of the roundtable. We talked about that in the last conversation. The structure is really key, and there's 2 key aspects in the structure of the facilitation of the roundtable. And one is, you want to help people really figure out what the actual challenges are, because people have an idea. They think they know what the challenge is, but you as the solution provider, you want to sit with them and say, okay, let's talk about this. Let's figure out what the real challenge is. And then the other aspect is basically, you want to have everybody exchange best practices. You want everybody to open up and share success stories, also failure stories, failed attempts, lessons learned. That's another key part of it.
Okay. So what happens during the event? So they arrive, they share stories. How about your team? How do the team prepare? So they sit down, there's agenda. What else? Like, could you give me some details that make this event, the experience somehow different from regular meetings of the CEOs or CEOs?
So basically, I give an example when we do it with a client. So when we do a specific roundtable with a client. So let's say it's the SAP roundtable, right? The SAP roundtable, we have 8 decision makers there. We have 2 people from the client there, basically, some senior executives, maybe the CEO, maybe the head of sales, for example, or somebody, very senior, one of the co-founders, for example, somebody very senior. So we have about 10 people actual table. And what we do before the roundtable is we look through every fact sheet. So in the conversations with the decision makers before they get to come, we ask them a lot of questions, and we create a fact sheet, which is a 1-pager basically from every person. We go through that with our clients to make sure they understand who's going to be there, who exactly they are, what they're struggling with, and everything. And then in that meeting as well, we create the perfect case study with the client. So the client most likely has a lot of case studies from their past. So our client has a lot of case studies from the past, and basically the idea there is to have a case study that 100% resonates with the people at the roundtable. That is absolutely key, because then you create the relevancy, the credibility, and the trust at the roundtable. So we review the fact sheets, we create the case study. Then people arrive, right? We have the actual event. People arrive, people come in, people get seated, people have coffee. We start with an intro round. Everybody says, in 60 seconds who they are, what they do, and why they're here. And then after that, we go immediately into the challenges. So everybody says, okay, this is my challenge. The solution provider then says, they ask the questions, the clarifying questions, right? They consult with them like in a pre-sales setting, and they say, so what's really going on? Why is that not working? Why do you think this? Why do you think that? Basically the pre-sales conversation. And then there's a break, give people a bit of space to, settle, to calm down, to let things mix a little bit in their head. You can have breakfast there. You can have, a coffee break. And then you go back into the event. And then what happens there is basically the best practice exchange. So everybody has about 5 or 10 minutes to say, this is a case where we had success, where we failed, the lessons we learned. And in that piece, the last one that shares is the solution provider. They shared a 10-minute case study there that we initially prepared, right? And what happens then is this case study is so powerful usually because we did our homework, we prepared it, we customized. It's completely in context with everybody there. it's so powerful that there's an enormous amount of questions that come up. So how did you do that? How did that work? How did this work? So that's then the end of the formal discussion. There's a couple of questions and Q&A and answers. And then basically it's the networking piece where everybody goes out, has coffee, maybe breakfast or something like that in the morning. And what happens is the solution partner now is in the center. And everybody wants to basically hang out with them and say, so how did you, so, because now people are in solution mode. People want to figure out what's going on. People want to
They're hooked.
Yes, people are hooked and they want to book follow-up meetings. Now is the perfect time to book the follow-up meetings. They'll say, let's get together this afternoon, let's get together tomorrow, let's get together next week, talk about it, dive more into details. And now you're already in the middle of the sales cycle. You're not starting in the beginning. You're already right in the middle of the sales cycle with the right people. Of course, not everybody will follow up, but with the people who do, you're in the middle of the sales cycle.
It's a combination of the challenger sale and the pre-sale. So basically, you have the person, you know, his or her challenge, and then you jump as an expert and the helper. So you can kind of find some solution and somehow get interested from the person, and then you make the follow-up. Okay, so after the event, people go home. The CEO, they connect with the service provider if they like. And how about you? What happens for you when the event ends? Do you do something with the providers next time or with the CEOs, or do you just leave them like, guys, okay, it was great having you, hosting you. I'm super happy that we managed to organize this event. So good luck, but I'm organizing another event right now. So what's your role after the event?
Well, I mean, one thing is organizing the next one, the next roundtable. But with every client that we work with every solution provider that we work with, we have a very, very deep relationship. So what we do is as well, we provide advisory consulting when it comes to the sales cycle in terms of moving them along and actually closing the deal eventually. Because there's a lot of insights we have in the Swiss market, sales in general, and just dealing with people on a relationship level. Because usually it's not the offering or the pitch or something like that that is key, but it's the interpersonal relationship. Like in every client that we work with, the key issues are always the interpersonal relationship. Oh, the decision maker only, like last week, I had a meeting with a client where we're doing this right now basically, and they have a great decision maker in the sales cycle now because of this. And the guy from the client came to me and said, we have a challenge with that because the decision maker only wants to talk about personal stuff and we want to pitch them, we want to do business with them, right? So what's going on? And I said, guys, this is a very personal person. Yeah. You first gotta have a strong connection with them. That's why they want to see if you're on their page. Stop pitching, start connecting. I mean, This is never going to work otherwise. You're going to waste this opportunity. So we do a lot of these advisory sessions then as well if they're required. Because at the end of the day, what matters to me is success. What matters to me is creating the collaborations. Because like I said in the beginning, the purpose hasn't changed. The purpose is about the collaborations. It's enabling long-term collaborations. And that can only happen if there's a strong relationship. That can only happen if people are very close to each other. Because that's when people work together long-term. That's when, your client, the person, leaves from company X and goes to company Y and then take you with them. That's what happens, but only when there's a very strong connection.
Mm-hmm. So I think I have two more questions. The one question was about your three biggest lessons since you started, because I'm pretty sure that when you started, there were some small fails, as they usually are, and you keep learning, and there are some iterations. How did the Roundtable change from your first events to the events you're organizing right now, and what are your three key highlights from those changes?
Sure. I would say one is basically around the asking thing, to ask faster, more often. Because in the beginning, we took such a long time for, to build the relationship, to provide value, and we never asked for anything. And to get people to the roundtables, it took a long time to get people signed up. It literally sometimes took months for people to, say yes, but not because it's not about them, it's about us. We didn't ask enough, we didn't ask for enough. So that's one big lesson. And now we have everything set up where we can literally, we're doing this right now with a couple of campaigns, we can literally send out an email today to somebody who's never heard of us about a roundtable and have to call book tomorrow. Not in every case, of course, but it's super, 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 super fast, because we try to combine everything together, provide the value, make the pitch itself valuable, make the message incredibly valuable. So we put everything together. So that's one big thing. You can do things a lot faster than you think. That's one thing. Another thing is, in the beginning, I put a lot of effort into just getting people to the roundtables that we knew, that I know, that I had a good relationship with.
Okay.
And what I learned is that you can do a lot beyond that if you structure it the right way. In the beginning, I always thought that, you know, you have to know people, you got to talk to people face to face first in order for them to be interested in that. You can do things much faster, basically. So the lesson there is basically that you have your existing network, and you can grow that, trust and network also a lot faster than what you think, than you think. And let me see, third lesson. I think like a third lesson, maybe it's about the actual facilitation of the roundtables, because to me, there's always a fine line between perfect structure and no structure. Because in the very beginning, the way we did executive roundtables was we got 15 people in a bar.
Yeah, spontaneous.
Yeah, we gave them beer, and that was literally it. And that worked too. It literally worked, but it worked in ways that we sometimes didn't want to, or not didn't want to, but not in the intentional way that we wanted to go. So, and now we have our roundtables very structured in terms of the facilitation and moderation. But then also, like the last CEO collaboration day that we did in November 2019, we had everything planned out. Literally, we had the 5-minute buffers, the this and that. We had, a 10-page manifesto of what exactly everybody's going to do.
The checklist stuff. Yeah.
Yes, and all the fun stuff, right? At the actual event, when we gathered people's challenges, we switched everything upside down at the event in the morning, and basically within 30 minutes, we had the whole event upside down. We didn't do 6 roundtables, we did 3. We extended the time. We mixed people up very differently than what we thought. We put everything upside down. And it was a lot more valuable than it would have been the other way around. So probably the third lesson is, yes, have a structure and be okay.
But some flexibility.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and be okay to completely trash it at any moment.
So how is, the last question, how is your situation right now? How many events do you organize per month, and how can you help people who are listening to this interview? How can they get in touch with you and I guess use your service, use your knowledge and experience?
Sure. I mean, we're doing we're doing this simultaneously with 3 clients at the moment. So we're doing 3 executive roundtables a month. We're doing 1 a month usually with a client to give some space and to make sure it's not too condensed. So we're doing 1 a month. We're doing 3 at the moment, plus the CEO collaboration day, which is basically 1 day, 6 roundtables at the same day. So this is going to be, but this is twice a year. So maybe for the first quarter, we're doing about 9 or 10 executive roundtables. And I mean, at the end of the day, what we are masters in is enabling very, very high-end B2B collaborations. That's really the essence of it.
Sure.
So, and the roundtables work well for that. I got a lot of questions. Like I spoke at the Solar conference last year. I got a lot of questions about how can you use it for that. We got a web design firm. Can we use it for that? And I always say, well, probably, but I don't know. I only know that it works for very large deal sizes. 200, 300, 500,000 plus, $1 million plus. I mean, the kind of big, really, really big deal sizes, this works well because it does everything that's required for that. It gets you so close to people. It builds such strong trust and relationships, everything that's required for that. And, roundtables are a lot of effort. They cost a lot of money with all kinds of things involved. So it's going to be worth it, right? So you could probably run them for, a 20K deal, but I don't think you're going to get really good ROI on that. So and I mean, to get in touch, I mean, LinkedIn, leadersbridge.org. These are pretty the main channels. And yeah, I mean, if you have questions around how to run executive roundtables, you can reach out to me. Or the simplest way is just to follow me on LinkedIn, because I put a lot of content out there about how to run them, how to get people to the tables, and all these fun things.
Makes sense. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you. It was great speaking to you. As we've discussed as well, we might also organize some event. I'm planning it right now. And yeah, what you've said is very interesting, because it somehow blows my mind how people still organize event, and it's like an old structure, from old times, and no one goes beyond that and doesn't use even the cold mailing. So many people use cold mailing, but they use it for spam instead of like proper interaction. And people love mailing if it's relevant, if it has really nice message, and if actually I'm in the need and someone triggers me with the solution or some sneak peek of the solution. I'm like, if you have this, guys, I'm all yours. I'm all here to listen. But most people say like sell. Then this is my SAP solution. This is my software house. This is something. This I have thousands of developers, and it just doesn't work. So I guess most of the people, they just destroy their roundtable at the beginning. So, and then it's only worse because they have wrong people on the event, and then. But anyway, thank you. I really enjoyed our interview, and I hope these lessons will be valuable for everyone who is listening to us. And I'm pretty sure we will see soon. You are based in Zurich, but also in Wrocław, so you travel a lot. And I guess everyone who can meet you can easily meet you virtually or also physically if necessary. So I hope to see you as well soon in Wrocław. So thank you for the interview.
Thanks, Damien. Appreciate it.